The Entrepreneur's Library, episode 145.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Library, the only book-centric podcast that reviews all the top-selling business books and shares authors' perspective firsthand. This is your resource to finding the next great book that will enable you to grow personally and professionally. Welcome your host, Wade Danielson.
Welcome back to the EL. Today we have Kurt One, author of The Startup Survival System: How Your Startup Can Survive and Thrive in the First 2 Years of Business. Welcome, Kurt, and thank you for joining us on the Entrepreneur's Library.
Thanks very much for having me on your show, Wade. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Before we take a deep dive into your book, will you take just a moment to introduce yourself? Tell us just a little bit about you personally.
Sure, thanks, Wade. I'm originally from South Africa, born and raised there. I've been living over here in the UK, in London specifically, for the past 15 years, and I'm a multi-award-winning consultant for startups, small business owners. I'm a speaker, and now I'm an author. And I've worked with over 1,000 entrepreneurs, business owners across 15 different countries. And I've also helped them to be able to increase their sales, increase profitability, also drive results in the business over a much quicker period of time. And I've also been written about in Forbes on Forbes.com. And also been featured in Huffington Post and also Real Business Magazine.
Excellent. So it sounds like you have a ton of experience with the book that we're going to talk about today. And it's actually not just out yet, but let's dive into it. The Startup Survival System: How Your Startup Can Survive and Thrive in the First 2 Years of Business. And it was actually, it'll be made available basically January 29th, 2015. So it's going to come out, the date of this recording, the book will come out here in the future. But as this posts, it'll probably be out for a day or two. So, and Kurt, we're going to move quickly, but here are the top questions that our listener/future reader would like to get answered. And the first one is, what was the inspiration behind writing The Startup Survival System?
That's a great question. Thanks, Wade. You know, my mission is really to be able to help empower and really support as many startups and existing small business owners as possible. And like I said before, over the past 5 years, I've worked with over 1,000 entrepreneurs, business owners through one-to-one mentoring, coaching, group coaching, also workshops. But what I found is that while I actually help make a massive difference to their business through these coaching sessions or workshops, there's really only so many people I can really help with the amount of time that I have. So I really needed to find another way to be able to help serve more people and make a bigger impact and help more startups to survive and thrive in their first 2 years of business.
Mm. So what do you say makes your book different from others regarding the same or similar topic?
Well, I think what makes the Startup Survival System different to all other books about entrepreneurship is that it's a very easy read. I've made it fun, and I use very simple language to help guide the reader through their journey of entrepreneurship. But I think the biggest difference is that I actually use survival in the wilderness as a metaphor for surviving as a startup, which I think helps to really engage the reader throughout their time reading the book. And I also think the value lies in the simple exercises and the questions that I ask and the videos that I've recorded at the end of each chapter to help the reader to get more clarity and focus in the business. And one thing I'm actually quite proud of is that the biggest difference here is 15% of all the proceeds from this book actually gets donated to a charity called Rooting for Rhinos. And just as the name of the charity sort of demonstrates, the money really goes towards helping to conserve and make sure the rhinos in our sort of planet are safe from poachers, and that we're actually able to see rhinos in their natural environment. So I think those are the things that really make my book different to everything else.
Kurt, how do you suggest the reader engage with your book? Is this one that they should read from front to back, or is that the way you designed it? Or did you design it so they could jump in and jump out as they needed information?
Well, in terms of the actual story of survival in the wilderness, it's a continuous story that goes from chapter 1 all the way to chapter 11. But what I suggest they actually do with the book is actually read the book, because it's a very simple read, it's a quick read. Read through the book, have a look at the questions, but then once you've read through the whole book already, go through the questions again at the end of each chapter and also watch the video. And so what I found is that the more times you actually read it and go through it and ask yourself the questions that I'm asking you, I think you're going to get the most value out of the book by doing that.
So, Kurt, this is my favorite part of the interview. And this is where I really want to just hand over the mic and allow you to give the future reader a great grasp of what they can expect out of your book. Will you take the next 5 to 8 minutes and do that for us?
Sure, I'd love to do that. Thanks, Wade.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as for you, the reader, I mean, just imagine that you're stuck in the wilderness by yourself, without any tools. If you've ever watched any survival programs on the Discovery Channel or National Geographic or followed a guy called Bear Grylls, one of the first things you need really do is look for shelter, build some kind of shelter for yourself so that you are protected. And I think that's one of the things you need to do as a startup at the beginning, to really find ways of how to protect your business and also protect your assets. And so that's what chapter 1 is really about. Exploring ways for you to protect your business. Now, once you've actually done that, when you're starting up a business, at some point, you're going to experience some testing times. And, if you speak to any entrepreneur, any startup, they'll tell you that they've had testing times. And those times they'll test your spirit and also push you to the brink of nearly quitting your business. And so chapter 2 is really about gaining clarity on where you are in your business and your bigger purpose other than making money. Because when the times are tough, the thing that's really going to keep you in your business and doing what you're supposed to do is having a purposeful mission. And so in chapter 2, in the questions, I'll ask you a question to help you to gain clarity on your purpose, on your mission, and what's really driving your desire to really start a business or stay in business. So that's chapter 2. Now, chapter 3 is one of my favorites. I call it, chapter 3 is called Barbecue, Berries, or Slugs. And, if I take you back into the wilderness, once you've set up your shelter, you need to find fresh water and fresh food to give you the energy to survive and to find your way out to extraction, pretty much. And in business, you need sales and you need cash flow in your business to sustain all the operations that happen on a day-to-day basis. And as two of my mentors have said, Blair Singer and Robert Kiyosaki, they said, sales equals income. No sales, no income. And that really stood by me for a very long time when I actually sat down with them. And, for most people new to business, sales is one of the toughest things for them to do. And it's the most terrifying too. And some people either don't know how to sell, they don't like selling, or they just refuse to do it. And that's why they actually don't make much money in the business and they come under a lot of pressure. So in chapter 3, I share with you tips and also a proven process that can help you to increase your sales more quickly and also make more money and help you to make more cash flow so your business can grow. In chapter 4, we really explore what to do in order to keep predators away from stealing your ideas and stealing your sales and also your intellectual property, and how protecting your ideas can really help you to create long-term wealth as long as the intellectual property is good. Because, one of the biggest mistakes I made in my first business was that I didn't really seek the advice, and I was really too cheap to pay for the advice to really get legal documents looked at and also protecting my ideas. And so that's, if you're in a position right now where you have a brilliant idea and a very unique product or service that you don't want people to steal, then chapter 4 is really for you. Now, once you've protected your ideas, I call chapter 5 Surviving the Storm. And I call it Surviving the Storm because no matter how things are going, you're going to get the good times and also the bad times. And sometimes the bad times, for some reason or another, your business can go into really dark days. And no matter what you do, things somehow turn against you. And in chapter 5, I share with you tips and strategies on how to deal with those rough times. And I also share with you my 5 C's complete confidence system. It's a very simple system that you can use and you can teach others to use to help build and maintain the high levels of confidence that you need in building and growing a startup. Now, I'm sure you read a lot about people saying that they are self-made millionaires, but I believe that there isn't actually really a thing called self-made millionaire, because my understanding when people are saying that is that they did it all themselves. And to be successful in life and also in business, you need to, I'm pretty sure they had people around them that helped them to achieve that success. And chapter 6 is really about what are called tribal survival. Because, in the Kalahari, in the desert in southern Africa, the only way the Bushmen could have actually survived and also thrived in those harsh conditions was by having a tribe, people that would do different things, that specialized in different things inside of their tribe. And that's what helped them to grow. And so chapter 6 is really about looking at who's on your team and who you need to get on your team and how to become a better leader. And so for those of you that are thinking, entrepreneurship is a very lonely place, it can be. But the most important thing is that you don't want to do it on your own. If you want to survive but also thrive in the first 2 years, you need to look for good people, but also put a good team of advisors around you. And in chapter 7 is called Taking in the View. And as a business owner, I don't know if you've found that sometimes you just get stuck into the minutiae of daily activity. And so when we actually get stuck into the details of everyday running of a business, sometimes what happens is we get stressed, our heads are down, and we never take a second to really look up and see what we've really done, or take a look at what's actually happening around us, what our competitors are doing, etc. So, success is also it's more about the journey than the end goal, really. And successful business owners take time to really look at the big picture, but also reflect and also appreciate what they've achieved. And so that's what chapter 7 is really about. In chapter 8, I explore leaving tracks. So how is it that you can leave tracks for new customers to find you? Okay, instead of your business being very focused on outbound marketing or push marketing, how do you create great marketing campaigns that actually attract people to you? So it doesn't take you that much effort. And so in this chapter, what I do is I help you, the reader, to get clear on how to establish the branding and also your marketing strategy. As one of my mentors said, wealth is what repeats. And in order to have processes repeat, you need to have solid systems in place. Wade, from what you said about your business, I know your business most probably does this really well and helps a lot of people in this, is put solid systems in place. And if you're a one-man band, then chapter 9 will really help you to gain insights on how to put systems around your processes so it's easier for you, but also for your team to replicate the success that you're having. Because there's no point having something that works once but doesn't work successfully again. Right? So that's what a long-term business really needs, is replicable and duplicable systems that are also documented. So that's what I go through in chapter 9. In chapter 10, what we do is really look at the finance side. Because what happens to your money when it comes into your business? Do you put some of that money away, or does all of it get spent? In chapter 10, I help you to get clarity on how to better engage with the money flow on a week-to-week basis, and to ensure that you don't get caught in what we call a cash trap. And if you're one of those people who tend to bury their heads in the sand when it comes to managing your finances, then this chapter is for you, because I make it really simple and easy and not very, I make it easy for you so that, you don't get scared of having to tackle money and the numbers. Okay. And in the final chapter, I'll call chapter 11, extraction. And I talk about the need to really build a business in such a way that it allows you to extract yourself from the business if you really choose to do so. Some people want to continue working in their business, but some people want a choice to be able to say, hey, look, if I go away on a holiday, the business is still going to run. And it not only is it going to run well, but it's also going to grow. And that's a main aim. And, by not being able to have that choice, I think having a business ends up being more like a job and more like a prison. And so you become a slave to your business. And so chapter 11 is really about looking at ways to help you to build the business in the right way so that it can give you the freedom that you're really looking for, the freedom in terms of lifestyle and also in money. And so that's what the book is really about in pretty much a nutshell.
Kurt, so thank you for taking us through that. You did a fantastic job of really breaking down the content, but also the context. And this next question I feel like is a little bit difficult, but we're asking you to break it down even a step further. And that's, if the reader can only take away one concept, principle, or action item out of the entire book, everything you just discussed with us, what would you want that to be?
Well, yeah, that is quite a difficult question, Wade. But but I think the one concept I would recommend the reader really take action on is the 5 C's to complete confidence. And it's a framework that, having worked with so many people, I found really works. And the reason why I say that is because in business, my 5 C's is all about having 5 different C's, and you have to read the book to find out what the 5 C's are. But you may not necessarily need confidence yourself, but learning this framework will also allow you to help others on your team, but also in your life to build their confidence, which helps them to increase their productivity and also helps your business. And so I think that's one of the biggest principles or frameworks I would say people take action on. But the most important thing, like anything else, is there's no point just reading a book. You've actually got to implement everything in the book. So even if you just take 1 or 2 things in the book and just implement that and test it out, I think you'll find yourself much further ahead than everybody else.
And Kurt, do you have a favorite quote from your book?
Wow. I would say it's this one here. And I say, build a business that people can rely on, not a business that relies on you. And I think for that, building a business is really about serving other people, serving your customers, creating a great business where your employees can thrive. And so you want to build a business where those people can really rely on those end users. And so, you can continue to add value to society. And I think that's my favorite quote from the book.
Perfect. So Kurt, I think that this book is going to influence a ton of people and really create change in their lives. And that's what leads into our last question for you. And that's, what's a book that you've read that really created a paradigm or a lifestyle shift, had a huge impact on your life?
I would say, Wade, that the point where I actually decided to leave my job, I was working for a very large investment manager, one of the largest investment managers in the world. And at that point, I was actually in quite a dark place because I didn't know how to fail. And the school system didn't teach me how to deal with making mistakes in a sort of professional manner. I played a lot of sports. I know what it's like to lose games, lose championship games, all that. But making mistakes and failing at exams in a professional manner was something I didn't know how to deal with. And one of the first books I read in personal development was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And there's one sentence in there that really stuck out for me for the first few years of business, was that all successful people and all successful entrepreneurs make mistakes, and they learn from those mistakes, and that's why they are successful. And so that's the one book. I know it could be a bit of a cliche, but that's one book that really made a big impact on my life at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey.
No, I like getting those recommendations. And matter of fact, there's just some books that are foundational books. And I think that's one of them. We get that. You'd be surprised we don't get that reference that many times on the show. But when I'm offline talking with people, they mention that book all the time as one of the first books that kind of created a shift in their minds. So no, I appreciate you sharing that. And Kurt, before we depart, can you recommend the best way for our listeners to not only get more information on you, but also your book, The Startup Survival System?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the best way to get more information on it is to go to www.thestartupsurvivalsystem, or one word.com. Okay, and that's www.thestartupsurvivalsystem.com. And you can also find us on Facebook, and you can just like us on there, where I give you a lot of great value in terms of quotes, inspirational quotes, and updates on the book.
Perfect. Kurt, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your book with us.
Wade, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for listening in today. If you would like to win a copy of this book, The Startup Survival System, look at the elpodcast.com. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a spot that says Become a VIP. If you click that button, you'll have a chance to win actually daily, multiple times. Our goal is to help you build your library. Also, go to the elpodcast.com and the show notes, and you can get more information on Kurt and his book. Thanks again.
Looking for your next book idea? Head over to the elpodcast.com, where Wade shares his amazing resource, the top 10 business books recommended by over 500 entrepreneurs, with you for free. That's the elpodcast.com. Till the next time, keep it on the EL.